Hi everyone, this is an updated guide for the thinking skills assessment for anybody taking the exam this year. The exam is on the 24th of October. You have just around 8 weeks, so this video is going to cover updates to the TSA, more general important ways that you can get better at this exam, as well as a bit more of a detailed plan on how you should break down the next few weeks. If you are looking more for an introductory question type video or how to do basic timings or how to solve each question, then I would recommend that you take a look at either Butterworth, the book that is recommended by the university, have a look through some of the past papers, read their guide, or you can watch some of my older videos which do take you through step by step what each question is and how to solve it. This is if you have a bit of knowledge already, so I am going to assume that you know the basics at least, and I'm just looking to help you formulate the best plan of revision and action for this year. You need to go to this site which I have newly set up. I just thought it would be easier for you guys to navigate it this way as opposed to what we had last year, which were, flipping through questions on our main site. So if you go here, examresearch.com, you'll see that you've just got, it's very straightforward, like there's nothing fancy here, it's just to have the questions there for you. I've actually listed out here on the problem solving side the different categories of questions. These aren't official by the university, this is just what I think is best based on sort of, practice knowledge and all that. And critical thinking, these are the categories. So if you want to try, like say the currency questions, then you just in the search bar, obviously you just want to search currency and you'll get all the questions related to that. In terms of how to use it, it's super simple. Like let's say it gives you the year, the question number, the type, and then the category, and then you've got the question, which I think you should try and solve first. In this top left-hand corner, I've put a 90-second timer. That's sort of the ideal time that you should be aiming for to solve each question. Obviously, some of these will be much quicker than 90 seconds, some will be slightly longer, but it's quite a good average time to aim for. Once you're done solving it, the answer, it just comes out in this drop-down section here. With the videos, I haven't really linked up that many videos for each question yet, to be honest with you, but if you have a question that you're really stuck on and you would like a walkthrough answer, all you have to do is just click request the video solution. That will take you to this Google form. Just put the year in the question and I will post it in that slot, like sort of within a day. I know we're limited on time and I'm quite keen to get you guys the answers anyway, so I'll get back to you as quickly as possible, but you can just check back and there'll be a video linked with the answer for you. Aside from that, I think it's fairly self-explanatory. So that will be how you now navigate all the categories of questions if you want to practice. I think definitely if you are good at the main conclusion ones, for example, don't sit there practicing all the main conclusion. Don't start there and then, just waste loads of time. I think just start with the ones that you are less sure of. That's it in terms of just general points that I wanted to give you. Again, if you want more detailed information or strategy, playlist is in the description box. Otherwise, we're going to just try the computer test that the university has put on for us. Now, it doesn't have answers, but so you can choose to trust my answers. I'm like 98% sure that I'm going to be correct on most of these, but again, they're not official answers, just bear in mind. So let's just go through the exam. I'm going to go through, I think, maybe the first 10 questions today, and I'm not going to make this video too long. So let's just see what the format of the exam is like. I've had a quick flip through this before, so I do know what it looks like, but just to take you through it, obviously, this is just a section 1. Not many of you guys have to take section 2, but that comes afterwards, directly after this part anyway. Just gives you the instructions, says 90 minutes for section 1. You can change the color scheme to whatever you want. I think probably just black on white is going to be, the best for fast reading. I know that yellow and black is also meant to be okay. You can try them out and see what works best for you personally, but I'm going to stick with black on white. So let's try this exam. It asks you if you're ready. Select yes. Obviously, we can just begin. They have a little highlight section over here, so we'll test that out as well. I think they do give you some paper to maybe have in front of you if you ask for it, and you definitely should, especially for these problem solving ones. I don't know how you do it without it.
And looking at the first question, it's a main conclusion question. I think this has been the case in every single paper so far. So you can expect that first question to be a main conclusion one, which is nice. You can kick it off with a nice, simple, or a nice straightforward question all the same. So when we're looking for a main conclusion, I always recommend you read the passage first. Don't go to the answers. The main conclusion comes from the passage. If it's not in the passage, it's not the main conclusion. Remember, with the main conclusion, we're looking out for anything which is kind of an opinion where they're trying to push something. So using words, opinion words such as, moral, where it should be justified or good or bad, words like this. And there's also sort of an umbrella statement which the rest of the passage is trying to work toward. And as I say, that third thing being the sentence should be identical, answer and passage. So we'll have a quick skim through. It may seem like we're living in the age of the conspiracy theory, but alternative facts have been around since long before conspiracy theorists claimed the 1969 moon landing was faked by a movie production crew. That first sentence is often like that, some sort of a contextual kind of welcome to the passage, this is what it's about. So in this case, we're talking about conspiracy theories. The truth is that society could be much smarter in how it addresses the popularity of such theories. Immediately, we can identify this to be the main conclusion. We know that for a couple of reasons. The first thing being the truth. So there is no truth, there is no false. This is the opinion of this writer, is that the truth is that society could be smarter. Again, smarter, how are you going to judge that? And then the rest of the passage, I guess, will now try to bring out arguments that support this person's argument. While it may sound counterintuitive, it's actually not all that useful to directly challenge someone's belief in a conspiracy theory. That sort of intervention just tends to reinforce existing beliefs. More effective strategies focus on how information is delivered by scientists and other authorities, and on developing open communication between the public and those providing official or expert information. Finally, it's critical not to simply dismiss conspiracy theories as trivial nonsense, as they can reveal much about levels of trust, equality, and other key components of a functioning society. Now, we know that there's been nothing else in there. Everything else has been supporting this point that the truth is society could be much smarter in how it addresses the popularity of such theories. The first reason being that it's not useful to challenge conspiracy theories directly because it just makes people more head in the ground. I'm not going to listen. I really believe in my conspiracy. There are better ways to do that by sort of opening up communications between the people with the facts, maybe the scientists, and then the public. And if you just dismiss it immediately, then, that trust is basically gone. So all of that fits in very nicely. We know that we have to now match that statement with the exact sentence from A to E, one of these answers. And if you look, society could be much smarter in how it addresses the popularity of conspiracy theories. That's exactly the same sentence. So the answer is A. Okay, so a problem-solving one. Again, this is the same as every single paper that's come up before. It's always a main conclusion and then a problem-solving, and then you get 3 critical thinking, 3 problem-solving, 3 critical thinking, 3 problem-solving. Obviously, in the past, we've had arguments about should we do all the critical thinking first or the problem-solving first. With this new format, obviously, you should just do the whole paper in a row. It's not going to be an advantage to do one section at a time. You've got to flip back and forth. And it's not the most sort of technologically advanced, exam. So it's not that kind of nice to scroll back and forth, and you won't be able to tell if you've missed a question. I don't know if they let you just go without answering. Yes, they do. So even if you don't answer a question, you can move forward, which means you can easily skip it. So be really, really, really careful. I think also on that first question, I accidentally clicked A before I decided it was A. So again, just be really, really careful. Okay, so now we have number of cold drinks. The table shows the number of cold drinks sold per hour at a 24-hour service station. Service station also sells hot drinks, and 1/3 fewer hot drinks were sold per hour than cold drinks. So 1/3 fewer than cold, regardless of time of day. How many drinks in total were sold yesterday? So the total will be cold plus hot. We know cold because 15 hours in the daytime, 9 hours. So it's 18 drinks per hour in the daytime. So we just have to do 15 times 8. And then we have 9 hours in the nighttime and 12 drinks per hour at night. So it'll be plus 9 times 12. And then 1/3 fewer hot drinks per each time period. So where it was 18 for cold drinks, a third fewer than that would be 12. And where it was 12 for cold drinks, a third fewer than that would be 8. So again, we just want to do 12 times 15 plus 8 times 9. And then we just add all of this together. I'm going to use a calculator. You guys can practice your mental maths, I'm sure. Plus 5 times 12. Plus 5 times 15. Plus 8 times 9 plus... Okay, so the answer on that is 630. So the answer is D. So fairly straightforward. When you look at these questions, there's not a lot of information on this page. So just make sure you read each line really, really carefully. Hopefully there's nothing here that's going to get you too tripped up. It's very basic addition and multiplication. Okay. Yeah, as I said, so we've had the main conclusion, we've had the problem solving. Now we're going to get 3 critical thinking questions consecutively. So in this question, we're asked principle, so illustrating the principle. Just very briefly, a principle is basically, and I'm sure you know this, but just to really drill it into what you should be looking for, the principle of any argument, or when you make an argument, it's more of a broad rule by how, and you can apply this in any situation. So if you claim to have a principle, then you believe in a certain way of doing things, an order or a process, and you would apply the same principle to every situation that you come across, basically. So we just have to find the broader rule from this passage and then apply it to a new situation, which will be one of these answers. And so we're going backwards in that case. We're looking at what is the result of applying that rule, and then we can extract from that what was the original rule. So religious believers often try to convince others to act morally by offering the reward of some kind of heaven. But this approach misunderstands the nature of morality. We should do the right thing because it is the right thing, not because of selfish desires about consequences. Ethics is a matter of virtuous character, not seeking rewards and avoiding punishments. For instance, if you believe it is right to pray daily, then you should do so, even if it will not get you into heaven. Now, with a principle, it doesn't need 3 lines, like it doesn't need to be this long to explain a principle. So from that, what I'm trying to tell you is that one of these lines or one of these sentences is enough to sum up what the principle is. So the better you can become at identifying what that line is, the less kind of confusing it will be. So in this case, you want this line here. So we should do the right thing because it is the right thing, not because of selfish desires about the consequences. Everything else is just explanatory. It's just giving you a bit more development on why that principle exists and why we should live by that, as well as an example. You don't need the rest of it though. So once we know that, we can look at the 5 different scenarios, and in principle questions, you do have to read every single answer, unlike the previous 2 that we've just done, because you want to make sure that there isn't something that fits better. That most of the time you should be able to recognize if it fits or not, but just to be really, really certain. So A says you should not jump queues even if you are in a rush. So we need it to have an action that you're doing because it's right versus selfish desires about consequences. Even if you're in a rush is not about the selfish desire of the consequence. That's just a reason you're doing something. You should be honest about your friend's new outfit, even if you might offend them. Again, this is about how it could impact the person you're talking to. It's not about a reward that you get for yourself, that the reason that you're doing something. You should not steal from an organization, even if you believe that it is corrupt. Again, this isn't quite right. We need something where it is you are doing an action just because it's right, not because you gain something, not because you gain a reward and avoid being punished for something. You should not give to charity just to avoid feeling guilty. Again, you're giving to avoid something. You're not giving purely just, if this said, for example, you should give to charity even if nobody knows, or even if nobody were to ever find out, that would be correct. You should return lost property even if the owner is not offering any compensation. There we go, that fits, because the right thing to do is return that lost property to the owner. There is no kind of benefit for you from doing that, but you should do it anyway just because it's right. Okay, an assumption question now. So with an assumption, you need to find the argument first, and then you need to see what needs to be true or what has been left unsaid but is essential to the argument for this argument to work. So in doing that, you can do it any way you like, but always read the passage first, look for main conclusion, look for argument, and then look for what is missing, and then try to see if it is one of the answers A to E. Again, this is one of those, you start with passage. When we are walking, our center of mass is constantly moving up and down. If we're wearing a backpack, then this also moves up and down as we walk. A new prototype has been developed in which the backpack is suspended on sliding rails that allow it to move more smoothly. It is attached to a pair of rubber ropes and a pulley system, which acts like a car suspension to reduce the impact of the pack as you walk, making it easier to carry. Additionally, the relative movement between the pack and the body is used to power a small generator that converts the mechanical power to electricity. All of this so far is just an explanation of this new backpack. I hope you recognize. There's nothing in here which is trying to persuade us to something. There's nothing in here which is a conclusion. It's all just benefits of this new backpack. Although these features will increase the price of the product, this backpack is likely to become one of the most popular on the market. So everything we need is actually just in this last sentence. So what we're saying is these features, all of these nice, snazzy new features, are going to increase the price of the backpack. Doesn't matter, this backpack is going to become one of the most popular on the market. Obviously, there's a lot left unsaid there. The main one being, okay, so people don't care about the price if the features are there. It will become popular regardless. People will buy it anyway. So that's the obvious assumption. So now we just have to find something similar to that in our answers. So A is cars that have better suspension systems tend to be more popular than other models. It's quite obviously unrelated to the argument. People carrying this new type of backpack will be able to use the electricity generated as it is generated. That's just another feature, so it fit in better in this kind of main body where they were talking about the cool features. The most important feature of a backpack is the ease with which it can be carried. Again, cool. You can kind of put that in this list of features and say why it's so important. Current devices that can generate electricity as you walk do not create as much electricity as this new backpack will. Again, that's all in the sales marketing of it. This should just be in the why is it cool to have this new backpack. And then consumers will consider the benefits of the new backpack design to be worth the increase in prices is quite obviously the only answer it could be. Sometimes you do get a question like this where it's just blatantly obvious, which it should be. And hopefully that is to you all as well. Okay, weakening the argument now. So I think if you see some of my previous videos, I've said that main conclusion is the most common question. And then it's followed by weakening the argument, flaw in the argument, and assumptions. They're all like kind of equally common. Although principal and parallel arguments are now, you're seeing them more and more. It used to just be a couple, but I think in previous papers, in more recent times, it's been like 4 or even 5 questions have been in that category. With weakening questions, you approach it the same way as the assumption question. So conclusion and argument, have a guess what would weaken it. Because there are only certain ways that flaws appear or weakening argument, actually, you know what, I'll take that back. Flaws, there are a set kind of like group of flaws that appear. Weakening arguments, also, I do think it comes from a main kind of group of classic how to weaken an argument, but often it can be a specific contextual one. So, approach it in the same way as the assumption question. With a flaw question, you can memorize quite a few of the flaws that it would be, which saves you a lot of time. Okay, so we'll have a read again. Unfortunately, in recent years, teachers in the UK have gone soft and no longer have the right priorities. Most schools these days are concerned with children's happiness, confidence, and self-expression rather than maximizing academic achievement. We should reverse this trend and reintroduce more traditional teaching methods, such as those focused on memorization in all schools. After all, the purpose of teaching is to develop children's learning and discipline, and good exam results can get you into a top university and ensure a higher paying career later in life. So here is our argument that's now coming into it. So before, we've got a bit of that context that's saying, teachers are not doing the right thing. They care about happiness. They care about other things. We need to go back to the traditional way. Why is that? Is how you know the argument's coming. The reason is because we need to teach in order to help children learn and get good results. Because why? It then gets you into a good university. And then what does that get you? A high paying career later in life. So there's actually quite a chain of like, this leads to this, leads to this, leads to this. But the kind of core argument is that it starts here. The root of it is we need traditional teaching. Traditional methods are tried and tested, so they are the best way of ensuring good academic outcomes for children. Okay, so that's not part of the argument. That's just kind of, again, bolstering why traditional methods are needed. But the core of the argument is traditional teaching, good learning, good exams, good university, good career. So something that weakens that is anything that breaks that chain. So it can either be traditional teaching doesn't get you good exams, or it can be good exams don't get you good career, or good, it's one of those along the way. So some private schools have maintained a focus on traditional teaching methods despite changes in attitudes among education professionals. That's beyond the scope of this. So now it's kind of talking about what private schools do. We don't really care about that. Traditional teaching methods also involve the use of strict punishment in schools to improve discipline, which some parents dislike. Hopefully you can see that's, again, besides the point. It's just talking about what traditional teaching methods might involve. Modern technology has increased the range of teaching methods available. That's great, but again, beyond the scope of this, we're not discussing technology. We're discussing two types of education methods. Careers have changed significantly over time and now require a wider range of skills than those represented by academic achievement. So that would be the correct answer. As you can see, that breaks up the chain. Now no longer is it that exams get you the university, get you the career. So probably you need other skills, soft skills, maybe people skills, whatever it is, beyond just those exam results. So you don't anymore with traditional education get the result of high paying career. So that's broken it. We'll just have a look at E anyway. As part of a pilot program, some schools have started allowing students to opt out of homework. Again, irrelevant. Okay, so now we're on to our 3 problem-solving questions. The 4-digit PIN of my bank card. I can already see that this is quite a common variation of question you get in problem solving. They want you to find some combination of numbers based on some rules that they give you. So make sure you're really carefully identifying what rules they are. So in this case, it says first, the first 2 digits, it's 4 digits total. And the first 2 digits and the last 2 digits add up to separately to 11. Yep, I read that right. The first digit is odd, so A is odd. And the last digit is the smallest, so D is smallest. All 4 digits are different. No 2 digits in the PIN are numerically consecutive. So for example, if the PIN contains the digit 6, then it cannot contain the digits 5 or 7. This is a lot of rules, so it should be pretty easy, I think. Let's just get a different color. So first, we'll knock out this rule first. So you need to have numbers totaling to 11. So that's going to be either 2 and 9, 3 and 8, 4 and 7, 5 and 6. So you've got 4 different combinations. Immediately we can get rid of this 5 and 6 here because they are consecutive, so they already just can't exist together. We're left with 3 different combinations, so we can see already that 2 and 3 and 9 and 8 are consecutive, so these 2 can't exist together. So this one definitely has to be 2 of the numbers in the bundle. And then 7 and 8, 4 and 3, again, they can't exist together, so actually we can just get rid of that one. So we know it has to be this combination. D is the smallest, so 2 is at the back, then it'll be 9, and A has to be an odd number, so it'll be 7, 4. So the answer is D. So just work your way kind of through each rule one by one. Again, hopefully this one doesn't give you too much trouble. It's just about being familiar with what you're looking at, and in this case, we're just looking at a set of rules. Gerald weighs 60 kilograms. So again, as soon as you look at this, if you have seen enough of these papers, you're going to think to yourself, wow, okay, so this is an elimination from a table and then finding something off of this. So we know immediately off the bat that we only need this column. So just get rid of that, get rid of that. So that's sped it up for us. He does a daily exercise regime and he does 10 minutes of fast walking. So that would be this one. He does 20 minutes of slow cycling. That would be this one. And slow swimming for 20 minutes as well. So that'll be this one. So we only need these 3 numbers, 180, 210, and 120. So the table below shows the rate at which calories are used. Okay, so these are all calories and it's per 30 minutes of exercise. How many calories will Gerald use during exercise on the first day of this regime? So that's pretty easy. So he does 10 minutes of the fast walking, and this is for 30 minutes. All of these numbers are for 30 minutes. So it's just 40 calories from the walking. He then does 20 minutes of the slow cycling at 180. So that's going to be 120. And then he does slow swimming for the 20 minutes at 210, so 140. And then just add it up, I guess, so 300. So that would be C. More often than not with these questions, there's nothing to really be scared of or look out for, or there's no particular trick to it either. Just recognize, okay, so it's an elimination. Only look at the information that I need to look at. The only place you could really go wrong here is by not reading like this, like 30 minutes of exercise. So maybe you read this as an hour or something, or you don't divide it properly, you don't add it properly. It'll be kind of human error on that, hopefully, as opposed to some sort of you're confused about the strategy. So as I waited for a train yesterday, I was puzzled when I noticed the digital clock on the platform change from 15:25 to 15:36. But then a minute later, it changed to 15:30 broken. And then after another minute, it changed to 15:30 something. And I realized that the last digit was not displayed properly. What was wrong with it? So the options we've got are one element. And again, this is quite a common type of question where they give you a clock to look at. Element basically means like one of these things. So it'd be just like one of the lines. And also with this is what I mean by you don't get spatial questions, but you kind of get spatial adjacent questions where it helps to look at it. But the answer isn't coming from manipulating the image. So we got one element on, one off, two on, one off, like some combination. So we don't need to look at those options just yet. Let's look at the image and try and work it out that way. So from 15:36, this should have become obviously that, and then a minute later it should have become that. So it hasn't. From this, we know that some are permanently on, some are permanently off. Let's figure out which ones have been on all 4 times. So that would be this middle one here. Let me try and do that in a different color, actually. This middle bar here has been on every time. Any other one, not that one, not that, not that one. Yes, also this one has been permanently on. Okay, and then I think that's it. And then for permanently off, like it's never turned on, we have this one has been empty the whole time. And then I think that is it. Okay, so from those options, we just have to figure out, okay, were any of those supposed to be on and they were not, or were any of them supposed to be off and they weren't? So in this case, we actually did need this one to be on, this green one that we've highlighted here. As you can see, we should have had that one on. So that one means that one is broken, that element. So that one is permanently off. With the ones that are permanently on, did we need any of them to be off when it should have been, did we need them to be off and it was on? Yes, because this one here, we needed that one to not be there. And we also needed this one to not be there. So actually both of those are permanently on. I hope that makes sense. I know that sounded very clear in my head, but maybe it didn't. Feel free to ask if you're still confused. But anyway, so from this, what we've learned is that there was one element that was permanently off and it shouldn't have been. And there were 2 elements that were permanently on, or from what the numbers that we had, and they shouldn't have been. So the answer is, C, sorry, got very confused there. Yeah, C, so 2 were permanently on and 1 was permanently off. Okay, we'll just do 2 more questions. Hopefully that gives us a broad range of the critical thinking questions. Now we're doing a flaw question. Again, flaw, as I mentioned before, there are a certain kind of group of flaws that you can expect, and it's always the same ones. I have a different video that talks about all the common flaws that appear, so you can go and watch that if you are not sure which ones those are. But typically it's like cause and correlation not explained correctly. It will be like other factors not considered when trying to explain a result. So it will say like this causes this, but it doesn't consider that other things could have caused that also. It will be things like reversed causation as well. Like there's a variety of them. As I say, check out the video. I will link it. But yeah, again, you need to find the argument, you need to find the conclusion, and then figure out which of the common mistakes it is. Okay, so researchers believe that shortened sleep and shortened rapid eye movement sleep in particular contribute to a shorter lifespan. For every 5% reduction in REM sleep, mortality rates increase by 13 to 17% among older and middle-aged adults, they report. But is there really a connection? A study comparing the sleeping patterns of men and women from 28 different countries using fitness trackers has shown that Japan is the country that sleeps the least. Japanese men and women sleep only an average of 6,030 minutes and 6,040 minutes respectively, yet Japanese women have a life expectancy of 87.3 years, the second highest in the world after Hong Kong, while male life expectancy in Japan is the third highest internationally. What this shows is that shortened sleep does not, in fact, contribute to a shorter lifespan. So that's their conclusion. And the argument is based on the fact that Japanese men and women sleep the least. Japan is the country that sleeps the least. That's important there. And yet they have the highest life expectancy. So, and then the conclusion is, so therefore shortened sleep doesn't shorten your lifespan. This is the one, I think I've just mentioned this actually, saying, okay, yeah, it could be true. Yes, that it could be that they've assumed based on the fact that they sleep the least and they also live the longest, that the living the longest is caused by something that's not sleep. What we have to consider is that there are other factors that also let them live a very long time. Sleep is actually maybe restricting that. They could maybe live longer. So it's not sleep. It's not the lack of sleep that is causing that long life. Right, so health problems that shorten people's lifespans might also interfere with their sleep in old age. That's not really relevant. That's not the argument we're trying to make here. The proportion of sleep that is REM sleep might decrease. Yeah, it doesn't matter. The length of time that Japanese sleep might be gradually increasing. That's, I mean, the whole point, that's not really kind of addressing the main point of this argument, which is that shortened sleep doesn't contribute at all. Japanese life expectancy might now be falling to a level close to the global average. Again, that's not what we have based on this information here. The life expectancy of Japanese people might be even longer if they slept for longer. Perfect. That's exactly what we wanted. It's not that shortened sleep doesn't contribute to lifespan. It's that there are other things that are keeping these Japanese people young. And in fact, they could live longer, probably. Okay, last question, and parallel, perfect. That's, I think, maybe the full range of questions, apart from strengthening questions, which come up really rarely. There's like one, sometimes none, in critical thinking. So every participant in the cross-country race received either a trophy for finishing in the top 10 or a medal for participating. Amy finished in 12th place, which means she will have been awarded a medal for participating, and we're looking for parallel reasoning. So always try to understand the kind of main parallel reasoning passage given to you first before you then look through the options. You have to have a really solid idea, a good grounding in your mind, otherwise you're going to get lost. So look at what we've got here. We've basically got that every you've got two mutually exclusive conditions, okay? You've got either a trophy for finishing in the top 10. I should highlight all of that, sorry. Or, whoops. So we've got either a trophy or a medal for participating. So those are our two mutually exclusive conditions. We have one option here, and then if that doesn't happen, the other option happens. We then have Amy finishing in 12th place. So we have some sort of an event. Do that a different color. So Amy achieved 12th place, which means that she will be awarded a medal for participating. So we've had some event happen, something happen, which means that she gets one of the options. That's it. That's the reasoning. Okay. So now let's look at it one by one. So the school, and you should look at every single answer in the parallel reasoning ones. I mean, you can always skim it the first time if you think you found the answer, but if you've got the time, go back and check. The school can take in 100 more pupils next year if they build more classrooms. That's already wrong because this is a conditional statement. We've got X will happen if Y happens. It's not two mutually exclusive options. So we'll just skip that. The shopkeeper can keep her store open on the weekends if she hires people who can work weekend shifts. Again, this is something, we don't get two options here. It's just a conditional. Whenever Cara and her family visit the zoo, they have an ice cream at the outdoor cafe, or if it's raining, visit the butterfly house. So there we do in fact have two conditions. So you can either have an ice cream or you can visit the butterfly house. So then what we want next is that one of these events have to happen, raining or no rain, and then you have to get one of these options as a result. In this case, it wasn't raining, so there's the event. So they must have had ice cream at the cafe. Yep, that works perfectly, and that's what we want to choose. Let's look at the other two just in case. So if fireworks continue to be sold illegally, hospitals can expect a spike in fire-related injuries during the holiday season. There is a decrease in hospital admissions. That's just about some policy, I guess. Efforts to crack down on illegal fireworks, not relevant. There is only enough space left in the moving van for an armchair or a side table. The armchair has some sentimental value to Peter, so the side table will be left behind. Hopefully, again, you see, yeah, fine, we do have the two conditions, but in this case, it's not based on something happening or not. It's based on a preference that Peter has, which is not the same argument that's been made above. So the answer is C. Okay, I'm just going to leave it there because that's taken a little bit longer than I thought it would, and I don't want to make this video too long, but hopefully that's given you a bit of insight in how to solve these questions. If this pattern keeps up and this is how it comes up in the real exam, then, you know, that's quite nice. You get to do one of each question, and then it will probably repeat. I haven't looked at the later question. I haven't looked at it, so I don't know exactly what the pattern is, but I will film part 2, part 3, and so on throughout this week. So hopefully we can get a bit more detail, a bit more information about what this exam is going to look like for you guys. I hope that was helpful for you guys. You've got like 30 something days left, and I think if you spend about an hour a day, if you can, if you don't have the time for it, you know, just a few hours a week on a weekend, just try a couple of papers here and there, and then practice by question type. That's, I think, more effective than going through the whole paper. So definitely check out the categorized questions that I have up for you. I will be running lives if there's enough people who actually want to join them. So if you are interested, please leave a message in the Discord when I post an announcement, just so I get an idea of if I'm going to be running them this week or not. Either way, good luck to everybody. Let me know what other questions you want to go through, or just request them through the site.